Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your co-host, Ben Dickerson. It's the midway point of the season. Things couldn't be more exciting. No, that's not true. Things could get a lot more exciting, and I expect them to. So we're coming up on week 9 of the season, and I'm ready to go.
Oh, you're looking for some more excitement, eh? Some more bang bang.
Absolutely.
Oh man, the matchups are crazy. We're going to be looking at the matchups through the lens of the Bias Plus reports. We're going to look at all of the rankings, the net point rankings, the points for, the scoring rankings, the defensive scoring rankings, and the turnover differential. And remember to subscribe to Ben and Barry on football and click the little bell so that you'll get the notifications. All right, Mr. Dickerson, this is your turn. Let's talk about what happened in week 8 of the NFL season. What do you got?
Great. Let's go right on through this. Let's start with the Thursday night game. That was the Falcons at the Panthers. The Falcons won the game 25-17. Matt Ryan came into the game as the NFL passing leader. That would be with yards. He went 21 of 30 for 281 yards, but he failed to throw a touchdown. He did run one in from about 13 yards out. This is from a guy that never runs, so that was a big deal. But other than that, it was nothing great to talk about. Poor Teddy Bridgewater had an awful night. He went 15 of 23, 176 yards. I believe that's his lowest yardage total of the season. And he almost got his brain scrambled on a dirty hit when he was running and tried to slide. So that didn't work out too well for him. Ended up, he really didn't get concussed as they originally thought. He had a little neck injury. He was able to come back into the game. Oh, by the way, and I meant to call you on this. Did you see who went in, who the second string quarterback is?
No, who?
It's the guy that was the NFL, the XFL MVP.
PJ?
Yeah, PJ. Walker.
Yes, I did see
Yes,
when
from Temple. Yes, he's their backup. I had no clue. Matt Rule brought him there. I love that. But he didn't get a chance to do anything. But it's cool. Now I know where
he only played 2 or 3 plays.
Yeah, and then Bridgewater came back in.
That slide looked a little awkward, so he better work on it.
It was a little awkward, but that guy didn't have to go down low like that. That was a bad hit. Okay, so we go to the second game. The next game, we have the Colts at the Lions. Colts won the game 41-21. Phillip Rivers had his way with the Lions secondary, going 23 of 33 for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 of them were check downs to third down running back Nyheim Hines and third string, well, not third string, but kind of backup running back Jordan Wilkins were able to take advantage of a lackluster day by Jonathan Taylor, who's the starter. He's a rookie, and he worked his way into the starting lineup after 1 or 2 weeks and has been playing really well, but he wasn't playing well that day. So those other 2 guys got a chance to shine and did really, really well. In fact, Wilkins got 20 carries for 89 yards, and he scored a touchdown. The Vikings went to see the Packers in Green Bay. I lost this one. Me and the bias picked the Packers on this one, and boy, did we get fooled. The Vikings, after looking pretty bad in a few games lately, came out firing. Well, I don't know if I should say they came out firing because that's not really true. It was the Dalvin Cook show.
It wasn't
back from a groin injury. Yeah, back from a groin injury. Dalvin Cook was totally dominant. 30 carries for 163 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 2 receptions that he took for 63 yards. 2 receptions, 63 yards, and another score. Kirk Cousins was 11 of 14, 160 yards, and he did throw a touchdown pass. So your whipping boy just filled in the weak spots, but he was able to take care of business and get the win.
He did a Garoppolo, didn't he?
Well, we'll talk about him later.
Well, he did a Garoppolo on Garoppolo's better days. Let's put it that way. Go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers wasn't super efficient, but was expectedly exciting. He was 27 to 41, 291 yards, and 3 touchdowns. All 3 touchdowns went to Devontae Adams. He was sacked, and he fumbled on the last-ditch effort play to try to get them back in the game. I think if he had scored, I'm not sure what they were. It was 22-6. Yeah, right. Touchdown would have tied it. Extra point would have won the game. But he got sacked and he fumbled, and that's how the game ended. Devontae Adams had a great day, though. The guy can't be covered. He's amazing. And it's especially amazing because of the lack of help at the wide receiver position that the Packers have given to Aaron Rodgers. And they were still talking about it as the trade deadline came and went this morning? Yesterday. So, I don't know what they're going to do there. I really don't. Okay, let's see. We got the the Patriots went into Buffalo to play the Bills. The Bills never beat the Patriots, okay? So this was a big game. They were expected to beat the Patriots. They did beat the Patriots, but it was 24-21. Now, I'm still trying to figure out what's up with Josh Allen. I've been touting this guy since preseason. He was 11 of 18 for only 154 yards. He didn't throw any touchdown passes. He did throw an interception. Now, he was able to run. He ran 10 times, only for 23 yards. But, he kind of takes away from their running backs because especially when they get in the red zone, and he did run the ball 10 times for 23 yards and a touchdown versus the Patriots defense. That's pretty solid against the pass, but kind of troublesome versus the run. The Bills ground attack controlled the clock and the game as Devin Singletary contributed 14 runs for 86 yards and an emerging number 2 running back, Zach Moss. Now, the reason I call him emerging, and this is a fantasy alert, Zach Moss is the number 2 running back behind Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary has not had an exemplary year. Zach Moss was considered a very close runner up to him at the position on this team and somebody who could possibly take over the number 1 running back spot. So for fantasy purposes, you may want to look at Zach Moss because he should still be on the waiver wire for you. And he's beginning to emerge, as I said. He had 14 carries for 81 yards, and he scored 2 touchdowns. So keep Zach Moss in mind. Okay, next one. Titans go into Cincinnati to play the Bengals. My man, Joe Burrow, rookie, offensive rookie of the year candidate, Joe Burrow, pulled off the upset, going 26 of 37, 249 yards, threw 2 touchdowns. He threw for fewer yards than he did in 5 of his last 7 games, but he still secured the win. He did so while evading several sacks behind an offensive line that was missing 4 starters. He hit Tyler Boyd for 67 total yards and a touchdown, and he hit rookie wideout T. Higgins for 78 yards. So he moved the ball very well through the air. The running game was fair to Midland. Joe Mixon was out with an injury, but they got the job done. Now, they were playing the Titans. This was a loss for me. I had the Titans picked to win this game.
The bias had the Titans, too.
Absolutely.
Everybody had the Titans.
Really, everybody had the Titans.
What's going on with the Titans?
Well, all I can say, let me put it to you this way. Derrick Henry continued to see his prolific volume, okay? He ran the ball 18 times for 112 yards. He did score a touchdown. But Ryan Tannehill was a quiet 18 of 30 for 223 yards. Now, he did pass for 2 scores, but this was his 2nd game in a row with less than 20 completed passes. So he's in a little bit of I guess I kind of want to call it a little mini slump. I don't see anything physically wrong. I don't see any difference in their approach to the games or schematically per se. I don't know what it is. I just think maybe he's a little off the last couple of weeks, or maybe these defenses, even though they're not touted as really good defenses, have thrown a little something at him scheme wise that gave him some trouble. But the thing is, as long as he's got Derrick Henry in the backfield with him, he gonna be okay. But they could not get the win away from Joe Burrow on that one. The Raiders went into Cleveland to play the Browns. The weather played a big factor in this game. It was raining and it was extremely windy. Derek Carr was a lackluster 15 to 24 for 112 yards. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention the Raiders won the game. It was ugly, 16 to 6. Derek Carr threw for 112 yards, only 112 yards, but he did throw a touchdown. The rain, the wind was swirling. It was crazy. Baker Mayfield was 12 of 25 for only 122 yards. The difference in the game was the Raiders' superior ground game as Josh Jacobs rumbled for 128 yards on 31 carries. Now, you might say 31 carries, only 128 yards. They were bone-crunching runs. He was breaking tackles. He might not have broke off long ones, but they were all rough and ready, bone-crunching runs. He broke a lot of tackles. So as long as he was moving the ball, it was all well and good because, again, like I said, the weather was bad for the passing game, and the Browns defense really had no answer for him. The Jets went into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs demoralized and humiliated them 35 to 9. Patrick Mahomes went ham on the Jets' sorry behind defense, completing 31 of 42 passes, 31 of 42 passes for a spectacular 416 yards and 5 touchdowns. This kid is gone nuts. I'm telling you. We're talking about Russell Wilson for MVP, and Mahomes don't want to hear it. He's trying to keep up, and he's doing really, really well. Now, here's the crazy thing. He had 5 touchdown passes. One of them, or one of the 5, one of the 5 was a ball that he pitched to McCole Hardman on a jet sweep, flipped it to him. They considered that a forward pass. Another one was an underhand softball pitch to Travis Kelce, and then one of them was a classic bomb to Tyreek Hill. Midway through the season, he is on pace for 4,630 yards. Whew. That's rough. Patrick Mahomes, good gracious. The Rams went in to see the Dolphins down in Miami. I picked the Rams in this one. I thought that the offense would carry the day. Here's a mistake that I have made this season, football-wise and fantasy-wise, and I've tried to correct it. The Dolphins' defense is for real, okay? The Dolphins' defense is for real. It's Tua time in Miami. Rookie Tua Tagovailoa. See, I never have trouble with his name. Tagovailoa got his first start of this season, and he got his first win. That being said, though, he struggled pretty badly. He was only 12 of 22. He only threw for 93 yards, but he did throw a touchdown pass, so that was good for him to do in his first game. Running back Myles Gaskins paced the Dolphins on the ground with 47 yards on 18 carries, and he had a 1-yard score also. And he caught the ball 3 times. So that doesn't sound like much, right? Tua had a tough day, only threw for 93 yards. The top running back only had 47 yards, even though he scored a touchdown. How did they win that game?
I know how. You tell them no. I watched it, and believe me, this was one of the games I expected that the bias wouldn't correct itself. I expected the bias to be wrong about that. And it was extremely close. 0.7 was the only differential. But, you get so much help from the defense. Then you get that special team help. And the next thing you know, it's a rout. and the Rams are trying to figure out how to get back in the game. And I'm looking at this going, oh, I wasn't expecting this. We're looking for Aaron Donald to be scaring the bejesus out of Tua, but he didn't really get the chance, and they pretty much, their defense really set him up. So, I mean, Fitz could have won that game. Tua could have won that game. It goes to Tua. He threw his first touchdown and kept that ball.
Hey, I'm thinking if Fitz is in the game, they destroy them. The way that defense is playing, they had 2 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. One of the fumble recoveries was a scoop and score, 78-yard scoop and score. Another one, they recovered the ball on the Rams' 1-yard line. That's where Gaskins got his touchdown. They ran back a kick. It was crazy. It was nuts. If you do not have the Miami Dolphins defense and you play fantasy football, you better run and get them. If you play in a league that I'm in, don't bother because I got them already. Now, the Steelers at the Ravens. This was the big one. This was the game with the 2 really good defenses. This is the game that everybody wanted to see. I was lucky enough to get a chance to be somewhere where I could see most of this game. Ben Roethlisberger looked a little shaky in the first half. He threw some bad balls, and I didn't see this, but reportedly he was seen rubbing his surgically repaired elbow on the sideline. Remember, he had Tommy John surgery, which a lot of baseball pitchers end up getting. Right. The recovery from Tommy John surgery is pretty good for baseball players. So I don't know if he's having trouble with that or not, but that was something that I heard. He settled down in the second half, and he game managed his way to 2 touchdowns on 21 to 32 passing, and a lightweight 182 yards. Conversely, Lamar Jackson struggled terribly through the air. 13 to 26, 208 yards. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. Now, this is funny. He did run 16 times for 65 yards, and he had one really long run that he scored on that got called back on a real questionable holding call. I didn't like that call at all. I didn't, if I'm remembering correctly, I think that was a bad call, but, it goes that way sometimes. Now, the good news for the Ravens is rookie running back J.K. Dobbins had his best game of the season. He had 113 yards on 15 carries. And veteran running back Gus Edwards had 16 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. Now, dig this. Between the 3 of them, Jackson, Dobbins, and Edwards, that's 47 carries for 265 yards against the vaunted Steelers run defense. That's amazing.
When you look at the stats on this game, you would think that it should, other than those interceptions, that it was Baltimore's game.
Right. And when you look at the score, you go, wow, this was a real knockdown drag out. But the bad news is the Ravens passing game looks totally out of sync. Like Lamar looks bad. I don't know how else to put it. They just first of all, they have a lack of really game-breaking receivers. They don't have a game-breaking receiver. They thought Marquise Brown was going to be that guy. I have no clue where this dude is. Pretty much it was the Willie Snead show. And Willie Snead is a second-rate receiver at best, if you ask me. Everywhere he's been on the Saints, he's been on the Texans, he's now on the Ravens. He's never been a number 1 guy. And he was the guy catching most of the passes. Why he can't find Mark Andrews, who's an excellent tight end, I have no clue. And Marquise Brown is like absent. So until they're able to really consistently move the ball through the air, they can't fall behind in games. Because as good as their running game is, that's not enough to get them back in a game if they fall behind us by a score or 2. So that's a tough one. You're going to have to watch that one, Ravens fans. Things ain't looking real good. Okay, New Orleans Saints go into Chicago to play the Bears and come away with the victory, 26-23. Drew Brees tossed a few wobblers. Still talking about that arm strength. You got a lot of people jumping on the arm strength bandwagon with Drew Brees. You called it last year. You said you saw it last year. I defended him, but there's some other folks starting to talk about it. Some of those passes were bad now.
He was outside, right?
Yes, he was outside. It was windy, and it was a cold day. So we're kind of blaming it on that a little bit. But he still wasn't efficient, 31 of 41, 280 yards, threw 2 touchdowns. The crazy thing is he's got a bunch of no-name receivers. Traquan Smith is the only one that's actually ever really gotten any real playing time up to this point in the season and last season. I don't even know who those other dudes are. I think they're practice squad guys. But they're getting the job done. He threw the 2 touchdown passes to Jared Cook, who's a really good tight end, and Mr. Everything, Taysom Hill, caught one. So, there's no telling what Taysom Hill is going to do in the game because he plays every doggone position. I'm surprised they haven't put him at D-back yet, but I expect to see that somewhere along the line because he does everything else on offense. Meanwhile, against a very leaky Saints secondary, Nick Foles finally threw more than 1 touchdown in a game. Unfortunately, he threw another interception, which he's done in every single game that he started. That's enough said about Nick Foles. I'm getting sick of this guy. 49ers go up to the Northwest to play the Seahawks. Yeah. Do I have this score right? I'm not sure I have this score right.
37-27.
Okay, so okay, that's cool. So let me just say this, and I had a lot to say on this one because it was your team, but I'm going to make it real short. Okay. Russell Wilson sliced and diced the Niners defense, 267 yards, 27-37, 4 touchdowns. He now has 26 passing touchdowns in 7 games. He might be looking at some records if he keeps up this pace. Jimmy Garoppolo looked a little gimpy on the ankle, but gimpy or not, he was stinking it up in the first half. They had to bring in Mullen. Mullen didn't look bad.
Say that again, because I thought the same thing.
What, that Mullen didn't look bad?
He didn't look that bad.
No, he didn't.
He gave a little bit of hope for the upcoming game.
That's true. He did a lot in garbage time. Now, again, you're so astute. I said astute, not you're so stupid. No, I'm just playing. I said that to somebody one time. They said, "You said what?" You're so astute. Word has it that even though Garoppolo is able to practice and play, that Shanahan may be thinking about starting Nick Mullen for a couple of more weeks, at least one more week.
Garoppolo's done, man. We're not going to see Garoppolo for a hot minute.
He's done?
He's done. Yeah, we're not going to see Garoppolo.
That's because I don't have him on none of my fantasy teams, and I really don't care.
We might not see him before the end of the regular season at this point.
Kittle was done.
He had a high ankle sprain. Now he has a high ankle sprain on top of the high ankle sprain.
Oh, geez.
He got a higher ankle sprain. Let's not even talk about the fact that Kittle is also out with a broken bone in his foot.
Yeah, I knew about Kittle.
And I'll just throw this out. We'll mention this again when we do the Bias Plus report. But your boy, Mr. Bourne,
yes,
has come down with COVID.
Oh well. Everybody's getting it.
Everybody's getting it. So it's going to be.
That's one. Game. So that's one
thing we know about the Packers, and we'll talk about this again in the Bias Plus segment. They will the Vikings show that you can run on them.
Yes, absolutely. And although I don't think Mostert's back yet, I don't think he's practiced yet, but McKinnon is healthy, and JaMychal Hasty is healthy and he's not looking too bad. So they may be able to do something. Anyway, and again, like we said, Mullen didn't look that bad. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Cowboys versus the Eagles, the big time rivalry. Eagles won the game 23-9. The Cowboys were beat before this game even started, man. They have a historically bad defense, and they're playing with a third string quarterback that has no clue and no chance. Now, that being said, Carson Wentz would be hard pressed to play this badly against such a weak opponent. He went 15-27 for a measly 123 yards, was throwing the ball all over the place, forcing passes, refusing to throw passes away when he was under duress. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. He now leads the league in interceptions. Oh, yeah, and you could tack on 2 fumbles to that too.
Add on those fumbles. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him and I'm like, you look like a practice squad guy. You know, I mean, you got all this pressure around you and you don't know to throw the ball away as big and strong as you are.
He's making rookie mistakes, and he is not a rookie, man. This guy's been around too long to be doing this. And again, you know, last week we talked about, you know, what is it with him? Is he trying too hard? Is it the lack of talent? I'm starting to veer away. It's still multiple things, but I'm starting to veer away from the lack of talent thing because the guy Fulgham has proven himself. Boston Scott had a good game. That's Doug Peterson's fault for not getting the ball to him more because he's proven himself. They were playing the Cowboys. Those guys just put 11 dudes in uniform and send them out on the field. They're not even playing hard. I just heard Zeke is questionable. How could he be hurt when he's not even getting that many carries anymore? I don't think these guys even feel like playing. They would quit this season if they were allowed to and they weren't getting paid. It's awful.
I want to add to the things that I believe are afflicting the Eagles. Play calling.
Absolutely.
I don't see the Eagles establishing anything relative, especially relative to a run. It seems as if they just pick a play and then pick a play and then pick a play. In one series that I rewatched, Clement got the ball and took it down 7 yards. So it's 2nd and 3. The next 3 plays, he's in the shotgun all by himself. I'm like, dude.
Wait. They went empty backfield.
They went empty backfield.
On 2nd and 3.
2nd and 3.
3rd and 3.
and the series turned out to be a disaster. It might be one of the series where he had the turnover. And to be quiet, and I'm saying to myself, in any football game, you have to establish something. Either a quick pass game, something that you know you can pretty much depend on. He doesn't even look at Clement when Corey flashes out into the flat. And I've watched him. Corey has flashed out to the left 2-3 times. He doesn't even look left. So he's not looking at him at all. It seems like he knows who he wants to throw to. But again, when you're not establishing anything, the play action is meaningless. You know, you haven't established a run. Now, he'll pick a run play. Boston Scott's really good, you know, but you have the potential for a lightning thunder type setup in your backfield between Corey and
Boston Scott.
Boston Scott. But you at least have to look like you're going to run the ball. You go into a empty backfield, then they know you're not going to. You know, it's not there. There's nobody back there to run it except for Wentz. So I really have questions. I heard a number of people on Philadelphia Talk Radio complaining and saying that the Eagles need to get a play caller on the sideline and let the head coach be a head coach, be a manager. You know, consider, for example, in Kansas City, you know, how long did Andy Reid, kind of run the offense. Then he turned around and handed it off to somebody, and they're having amazing success. So I just wanted to throw that in there to keep an eye out on the types of plays that he runs, and if he ever really establishes anything. That's what I don't think is happening.
I agree with you. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to the play calling, but we've been through this before with them. Remember, we were questioning. Oh darn! I hate it when the name escapes me. Deuce.
Deuce. Well, the use of the backs. We've always questioned the use of.
But they tried to.
He likes the little Sproles, handing off to the little Sproles type guys. I think I don't know if he thinks it's fancy or what he thinks, but that guy, Boston Scott can be used in a lot of different situations.
Yes, he can.
You know what I mean? But you got to wear that defense down a little bit to slow them guys down. Or once he's going to wind up getting hurt.
But my point is, just like we were talking about, when they tried to put it off on Deuce about what running back was in the game when they actually had 3 viable backs, they threw it on Deuce, and we couldn't figure out what were the determining factors as to who he decided was going to play. Was it down and distance? Was it situation? Was it the score? What the heck is going on? It just seemed like he was just shuffling guys around. And now we're questioning Doug Peterson with his play calling. What are you're not trying to establish the run to throw the ball. You're not coming out and throwing the ball early or on early downs and then coming back and pounding them with the run. The plays seem to be willy-nilly. I can't figure it out. I don't claim to be any real great, football analyst, but darn, I've been watching football a long time. I've seen teams that do things that make sense, whether they work or not. What they're doing just don't make sense. So that's how I see that. And last but not least, the Buccaneers go to MetLife to see my New York Giants. Now, the score ended up being 25-23. I will say this. I was very, very proud of my team. Very, very proud of my team. The defense pressured Brady into some bad throws. They sacked him twice. They had him dancing in the pocket. They recovered a fumble.
Slamming his helmet.
Yeah, they had him slamming his helmet on the bench. They banged up Ronald Jones and made him fumble, recovered the fumble. That got him benched for Leonard Fournette for a while. They were out there doing the best that they could. Unfortunately, Daniel Jones was almost as bad as Wentz was, albeit against a far superior defense. Okay. He was 25-41, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns. That might have been enough to beat some teams and would have been great if not for his 2 interceptions that helped the Buccaneers get things going. Still, somehow, some way, they're in it at the end of the game, drive down, score, and can tie the game and take it to overtime if they convert on a 2-point conversion. Now, I have to ask you, was that pass interference or not? I have to ask. Because I'm torn on this one. I can see it both ways. Usually I'm like, nah, that's pass interference, or no, that's a great play. I'm torn.
Well, I'm with you, but I didn't get real mad about the call because they used the term bang bang was a bang bang play, and it did kind of look like a bang bang play. But generally, when you throw the flag in that situation, you kind of think, okay, if you're going to throw the flag in this situation, you better be really sure what you're doing.
Right. It usually then make the call usually ends up standing. Yeah. They don't reverse that many of them.
No. And so when they reversed it, it was like, but it wasn't egregious. It wasn't it wasn't like he was grabbing on them and keeping them from getting to the ball and all of that kind of stuff. He kind of arrived right about when the ball arrived, and can't get too mad at that. That's what he's supposed to do. So
I think the fact that it wasn't a great pass, in other words, he didn't lead the receiver and it ended up hitting the defender on the back of his arm, is what made them feel a little bit better about reversing it. Because they're like, dude, first of all, it's a horrible pass. It hit the defender on the back of his arm. He really didn't prevent the receiver from catching the ball. And that's kind of the criteria, or the main part of the criteria for calling defensive pass interference, is that you obstruct or prevent the receiver from making an attempt at catching the ball. All he did was position himself, and the ball hit him in the back of the arm. And
if I remember correctly, Daniel Jones also had a couple better options underneath.
oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember when I kept saying to you, these guys throw these balls that have these low percentage potential success rates. And when the guy catches them, everybody's so excited. Oh, he caught the ball. He beat a double team. And you get a Gen Stats and say it was like a 1.7% chance that was going to be a completed pass. Then you look at
some dude over there that's wide open.
Yeah, straight underneath wide open. And you're like, dude,
Right.
what are you doing? You know, you need at least a first down. I don't know if they could. I think they had time, but the guy that was underneath, I think it was like maybe one guy between him and the goal line. So it would have been, you know, him pushing on that one guy. But that pass being, you know, the sideline and all of that, it's, you know, it's just it was a higher level of difficulty, and he passed up a much easier pass, in my opinion, as I remember looking at it.
Well, in my opinion on that, an NFL quarterback has to make that throw. He had a step on his man, flashing toward the sideline. If he leads him, he catches it and scores. If it hits the defender on the back of the arm, the pass had no chance. So that's on Daniel Jones, and I think they used that to reverse the call. So, you know, that's that. But that was week 8. That's the way we saw it. And I did great, though. I was 69%.
Yes. I was 42.9%. I mean, really, the Panthers let me down. The Packers, they really let me down. The Packers,
Yeah, I think they let everybody down.
bias plus a 14 in their favor. You figure over what, 7 games times 14, that's a large differential in their favor that they should have won by. The Titans, what the heck, you know? The Browns, okay. You know, the Raiders beat the Browns. The Raiders are that team that will beat the team that you don't expect them to beat at this particular point. You know, we'll talk about it.
I mean, they don't really have anything to hang their hat on except for Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr's been hot and cold, but when he's cold, he's not real cold. You know what I mean? And I think he's got some good games to come. So the Raiders are going to be interesting to watch. Let's face it, I don't think anybody expected much out of the Raiders. I really didn't. Now you got a big game against the Chargers coming up, but we'll talk about that in the next set.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, I wasn't too surprised that my Niners didn't get past the Seahawks, you know, with everything that we had going on. I figured that'd be a good game in any event, you know. So one other game, and this is something that has happened, and I've had to work a little bit to correct it, where there's a game that did not show up on our schedule, and that was the Chargers.
I knew. And I just got finished talking about it. And when I was talking about Joe Burrow as a leading candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I meant to say along with Herbert.
Herbert from the Chargers, right.
If I had said Herbert's name, it would have dawned on me that we didn't do the Chargers game.
We didn't do the Chargers game. The Chargers were favored by a bias plus score of 6.4. So I calculated that into my losses also. How they let Denver score 21 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win that game, putting the coach's job in jeopardy. And people start to look at them like, this is historic, how many times you guys have blown big leads like this.
Not to mention that you have a rookie quarterback who's been lights out. Great. This kid is racking up numbers.
Yeah.
And
Drew Lock
looked
very pedestrian in the first half to three quarters. But then between the runs, what's his name, the running back for the Broncos?
Melvin Gordon did all right, but Philip Lindsay had a couple breakaways.
Lindsay ripped off
a
on him, and
like a 50-yarder or something.
Yeah, when you're trying to come back and you can score on a running play, it's like that lightning pass, but it's even better because it was a running play. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're only 14 points down, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, we can do this. You know? Right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that Charger defense. Were they in Denver? Let me see something. The Chargers at Denver. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm throwing out that because sometimes that air by the fourth quarter, you're sucking oxygen and you ain't used to it. So I don't know if that impacted them in this game. They don't have that excuse for the past 2 or 3 games where they gave up big leads.
Right.
But when you got a young rookie who's doing as well as he's doing, it really wastes a lot of his effort. It makes it, come on, man, this guy is really a big positive surprise for your team, and you're turning around and giving it away, and that's got to be frustrating to him to some degree. So yeah, you're absolutely right. As a potential rookie of the year, you got to put Herbert's name up there with some of the other rookies that are actually really getting it done right now. So but I changed my information so that doesn't happen, because that's like the second week that we've had a situation where there was a game missing. There's a lot of changes going on, with the COVID and all of that. That's no excuse. Long story short, we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. So
yeah, he had a nice game. 29 of 43, 278, 3 touchdowns. They did throw 2 picks, but they had a 21-point lead and they blew it.
21 points in the fourth quarter, man. When you give up 21 points in one quarter and you're ahead like that. And this is the other thing. The Chargers' run game looked pretty. If you look at their run stats, they actually ran the ball pretty well. So you would think that, come fourth quarter, that's when the clock, when you're ahead like that, that's when the clock is your friend. That's when you want to eat as much clock as you can, shorten the game, keep it out of the other team's hands. And they weren't able to do that, and I'm not sure if it was play calling or if it was just one, 3 and outs happening too much. I looked back a little bit at it. I did kind of look back at the game, but it was while I was compiling a lot of these stats. So I really didn't have an opportunity to really kind of see it. But, the one thing you will see is 21 points in the fourth quarter. And bottom line is that's going to kill you if you give up that many points.
Yeah, the kid Justin Jackson actually had a good game. He had 20 touches total for 142 yards. So,
yeah,
been waiting for either him or the other guy, Joshua Kelly, to step up to take Eckler's place. Eckler should be back in a couple of weeks, I think. I'm going to have to double check on him. But Justin Jackson seems to have taken over the number 1 role there, and he had a decent game. So I don't know if the 2 interceptions – I didn't get to see the game. So I don't know if the 2 interceptions actually led to quick scores that got Denver back in it, because that can happen too. You can go up, and then, like you said, instead of just running the ball, you try to throw, he gets picked, you set the other team up, they score, they come back, they stop you, they score, boom, next thing you know, you're in a dogfight. So
yeah, turnovers will put the opponent back in the game.
Absolutely.
Rightly.
Absolutely.
All right, great review, sir, on week 8. Okay, Benny, we're going to take a look at the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. We're going to look at we're really the top 8. These are the guys that we know are going to are competitive. They're putting up numbers now in terms of net points, in terms of scoring, their defense, their turnover differential. So let's go to that and take a quick look at those guys. You can always go to the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings to see the full listing of the rankings on all of those different areas. So here we go. Top 8, sir. These is the guys right here. Number 1, net points, Kansas City, 12.6. Tampa Bay in second place at 10.2. Baltimore coming in at 10.1. It's kind of funny that Baltimore was able to come in ahead of Pittsburgh, considering they just lost to Pittsburgh, but they had a pretty nice lead in the first place. And
right. They had the bias plus for that game.
Yeah. In fifth place, Indianapolis at 8.9 net points. There's Miami in the top 8.
Hey, look at that. Look at that.
And you'll see why. You can see there in the numbers, but we'll go with it. Look at Arizona. Arizona ahead of Seattle, coming in at number 8, 5.9. Arizona 7th at 8.1. So there's your top 8 in terms of net points. You know, each one of these teams is going to wind up in some type. Well, I shouldn't say that. Arizona could be the odd man out, but they might actually be the second best team. Well, if you look at net points, they're the first best team in the NFC.
The first best team. Now,
Seattle.
Move on. Let me say this, because I know we're going to talk about points for, and we're going to talk about points against. Now, points against is a major defensive stat, but turnovers is partly a major defensive stat also. I say partly because you calculate in the turnovers you get and the ones you give away.
Differential.
Right. But when we look at net points overall, what you'll notice is every single one of these teams, except Seattle, has a very good overall defense. Seattle's there because their offense is so good. That's the only reason they're there. Everybody else here has a good offense and a really good defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, since you're talking about a really good defense, if you see PA stands for points against, look who's number 1.
Dude,
the Dolphins.
I don't know how they got by me in fantasy. I was not paying attention. I'm really upset with myself because I don't usually miss stuff like this. I went back and looked at their stats, their fantasy stats. They've been balling. But everybody was talking about Fitzpatrick and when's Tua going to play and this and that. I got distracted, man. Their defense is for real.
Their defense is for real. Let's finish up in points for first. And like you said about Seattle, their offense is so good. They're in number 1 place in terms of scoring, averaging 34.3 points per game. Second place, Kansas City, 31.6. Green Bay, 31.3. And fourth, Tampa Bay, 30.9. And Pittsburgh rounds out the 30+ at number 5. At number 6, Tennessee. Number 7 as New Orleans, and Baltimore rounds out the top 8 with 29 points. So everybody's 29 and above in this particular realm. So if you play these guys, you know you're going to have to overcome that. That's about where you're going to need to be scoring if you're going to beat these guys. Now, points against, Baltimore's only given up 18.9. We already said Miami was number 1 at 18.6. So that puts Baltimore in second place. Kansas City and the LA Rams both at 19 points at third and fourth place. And that's academic as to who's who in terms of third and fourth. Indianapolis, 19.4, rounds out the 19-point neighborhood. We move into the 20-point neighborhood at 6, 7, and 8 with Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Chicago. So all of those names all of those names are names that you think when you look at those teams, you think defense. Tampa Bay is a defense that everybody's talking about right now. They seem to have it going on in Tampa Bay. So you got to give it to them. I'll round this out with turnover differential, and then you can finish up with any comments. Let's give props to Tennessee. Although they are surprising us and losing to people like the Bengals, they rank number 1 in turnover differential, tied with Kansas City at 1.1. And then third place, Seattle, coming in at 1. So those are all the teams that are 1 or above. And again, this takes in the first 8 games. So you're looking at a differential total of about 8 plus 8 for these top 3 teams. The rest of the teams are just a tad below. Tampa Bay coming in at 4th, Pittsburgh 5th, Indianapolis 6th. We're talking about 0.8 and 0.7 for those 3 teams. And then rounding out the bottom, 7 and 8 are, again, Miami. Here they go again. Top 8.
Yep.
And Cleveland coming in at 8 with 0.5. So those are your top 8 in the Sterling Pro Football net point power rankings.
Let me see. As I look at Tide, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, the teams that are ranked really high in Tide, which all 8 of these teams are. They do 2 things. They protect the ball when they're on offense, and they take the ball away on defense. So that's a good thing. That's what you want. That's what every team wants. Nothing there is surprising to me, okay? But when I look at points against, and I see the Rams sitting there in the number 4 spot, that's a little bit surprising. Now, I'd have to go back and look at the early part of their season and see some of the teams they played and what kind of shape those teams were in at the time. Because at this moment, the Rams don't strike me as the type of defense that's that difficult to score against. I could be wrong. They could come back. I just don't see them hanging in this top area as far as points against is concerned. The other teams, yes, Chicago's defense is dangerous. Tampa Bay's dangerous. Pittsburgh's really tough to run on. Baltimore also. Miami's playing great. So, yeah. Points for all dynamic offenses, all of them. But the Baltimore offense is starting to falter, and the New Orleans offense is barely hanging on. However, I expect New Orleans to get better because Emmanuel Sanders is coming back off of COVID, and Michael Thomas is coming back off of his ankle, knee, hamstring, whatever else was the heck wrong with him. So I expect to see New Orleans start to either stay at that 29.4 area or creep into the 30-point area. But Baltimore may fall. They better be careful. They got to get their passing game together. Other than that, it all looks good, man. This is great.
Well, let me say Green Bay is one of those teams defensively coming in at number 20, giving up 26.7 points per game. So they're one of the teams that are in the top 8 offensively are not in even the top half defensively. The other team in the bottom half defensively that is
gotta be Seattle.
8, huh?
Gotta be Seattle.
We're going to talk about Seattle. I'm mentioning Tennessee here.
Okay.
Now, so Tennessee is coming in at 18th. Where is Seattle defensively? That is a good question. Wow, 24th.
So if they're ranked 24th in points against, and they're ranked number 8 in net points, number 1 in points for, that's how great that offense is. That's how great. Russell Wilson throws 3 to 4 touchdowns weekly. Nick Foles throws an interception weekly. Okay? Russell Wilson is on fire. He can't do anything wrong. I love it.
The defensive neighborhood Seattle's hanging out in is that 28-point neighborhood. You're
Who's
looking at
above them and, who's
Tennessee,
above them and below?
the Packers, Cincinnati, Atlanta, New Orleans, all above Seattle.
Wow. Wow. And those teams are known for having shaky defenses.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's funny. You look at great teams and sometimes you go, well, you know, the quarterback, he's not great and they got a decent running game. The defense is carrying them. You know, this is the total opposite. The total opposite. Their offense is carrying the entire team. It's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. And what can I tell you? So bottom line here, but I wanted to kind of just round this thing off. I usually like to do that with one of my charts. Let's see if I can get that. There we go. And I'll put this up here. Okay. So as I always tell people, when you're looking at the net point power rankings, half of this league at any point in time is in the negative. The rest are in the positive. You can see that you round out at about a net zero when you get down to what's that? Buffalo. So Buffalo looks like the breaking point there. That's the team that we have big questions about, and you were really on their bandwagon hard.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm looking at, so right above Buffalo, you got New Orleans and Tennessee. Right below them, you have Chicago and LA, the Chargers. The Chargers defense is really crapping it up right now. I don't know that they're going to be able to get that fixed. The Chicago defense is pretty tough, but they got quarterback problems. They're even talking about benching Nick Foles and bringing Trubisky back. We'll wait and see on that.
I believe that I got a report today. Trubisky is suffering an illness. I don't believe it is COVID related. They don't expect to see Trubisky for a hot minute. Now I don't know how much of that is authentic illness or what, but we had said they were probably going to ride Nick Foles to the wheels come off, and this looks like the perfect excuse to do it.
Yeah, well, I think the wheels are basically coming off, but we'll wait and see. I don't know who they got coming up. But anyway, Buffalo's kind of an enigma. They can go one way or the other. I expect them to rebound and start to move up in the rankings. New Orleans is kind of the same way, and so is Tennessee to me because of the shaky defenses. So, you know, very interesting. Things are happening.
I tell you, it's crazy. Okay, well, that wraps up the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings portion of the show. Next, we get into the Bias Plus report. Okay, so next up is the Bias Plus reports. Now, the Bias Plus reports is where we take that information from the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, more specifically, the net points and the turnover differential. We combine those numbers to come up with the Bias Plus, which will favor the team that has the highest number. So, for example, if Team A has a net point of +5, and they're playing a team with a net point of 1, the team with the 5 has the greater net points. They would be what we call favored. So we're not saying they're going to win, but they are favored. We then take that, combine that with the turnover differential, which could go either way. We combine those two numbers, and then that makes up the Bias Plus report. So now that we've had that short refresher, let's go right into it. Starting out, my beloved 49ers, coming off of a bad loss, now have to go into the frigid tundra. It's been really nice on the East Coast. I don't know if it's going to be nice in Green Bay, though. I think they've already had some snow. And the Bias Plus at 0.4 favors Green Bay. All right, this is your chance to agree or disagree. We're going to be led by Nick Mullins. We have no Kittle. We got Dwelly at tight end. we do have still a running game, and we have a coaches matchup here, but we're still playing Aaron freaking Rodgers.
Yeah, and your defense is a little bit banged up too there, buddy. That's not going to serve you very well. I also heard Jordan Reed could possibly be coming back at tight end for you, so that might be a good thing.
That would be.
Yeah,
I like Jordan Reed.
Yeah, Jordan
Reed. Madden.
yeah.
I like.
But I gotta go with Green Bay on this one. At this point, Aaron Rodgers is really hot. He's throwing the ball extremely well. Devontae Adams cannot be covered. It doesn't matter. You can double him. It doesn't matter. The guy gets open. He runs tremendous routes. His hands are spectacular. He can toe tap the sidelines. He can do it all. If Aaron Jones doesn't come back this week, though, we might have a little problem on the running game side because Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon both are on COVID notice. I think Dillon's got it. I think they're keeping Williams out because he was in close contact with him. So they're really hoping that Aaron Jones can come back, and there is a possibility that he can. So fingers crossed for that if you're a Packers fan. But I don't think the Niners are going to be able to. Well, you know what? This is a tough one, man.
Why? Why is it so tough?
Because Green Bay's defense isn't that good.
And they can be run on.
And what's really bad is they're bad, extremely bad against the run. And even though your four-headed monster now only has two heads, they two pretty good heads. McKinnon and Hasty. Hasty is a handful, man. He's a quick little dude with some power. And if they can swing McKinnon out and get him in the pass game and get him the ball in the open, they could give them some trouble. You know what? I'm going to go against the bias, and I'm going to take your team just for the heck of it. I'm taking the Niners on the road. Nick Mullen shocked the world. Let's go.
Nick Mullen shocked the world. And when we talk about our running backs, I always want to remind people we still have Juszczyk. That's he's sort of a cross between fullback, running back, tight end. Juszczyk does a lot of things. So I like the fact that you picked him. The bias plus isn't going that way. But oh well, what the heck? Let's see what's next. You're just jumping out on the limb there.
That's probably the only limb I'm going to jump on tonight. Oh, no, wait, here comes another limb. Holy smokes.
Denver at Atlanta. Bias plus score 4.4 favors Atlanta. Now, okay, you got your shot. What do you got to say about this? Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, so wow. Let me put it to you this way. If the game was in Denver, I would be very tempted to take Denver. But I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one. Matt Ryan has not really disappointed me too much except for this past week. I think he's going to bounce back and have himself a nice day against the Denver defense. Again, the only problem is Atlanta's defense is not very good against the run. And now that Lindsey is healthy and they still got Gordon, if they're able to establish a running game, Drew Lock is playing with a lot of confidence. This game could be trouble for the Falcons, but I'm going to pick the Falcons to win.
Going with the Falcons. All right. Going with the bias. Yeah, I didn't think you were going to go, but so crazy there, you know. I got to give you that. But, okay, what do we got here? Who's up next?
Wow, another great game. Jeez. My two favorite teams, beside my actual team, which is the New York Giants, these are my two favorite teams this season.
Yeah, and the bias plus score favors Seattle. You're not going against that bias, are you?
Wow.
So that's a nice
So
healthy one too, because you figure what, 8, this is week 9, so that's 8 sevens or 56. So that's a net difference of over 56 if you just make it a total number, because this is an average per game. So, that's a pretty nice size. But again, what's Buffalo going to do? I mean, the weird part is the Bills are 6-2. So, in terms of their division, in terms of winning percentage, they should be in first place. You got the Dolphins in second place, but they're not looking like a first place team right now.
No, they're not. They're really not. And I've seen far lesser offenses give them trouble. There's no way that I can pick the Bills over the Seahawks offense. I really can't. I mean, if it's snowing and no, not even that. Take the Seahawks. Forget about it. Russell's too good. The pass game is clicking too well. I don't know if they'll have their number one running back back in action this week. Again, this is that part of the week where you have to check. If you're playing fantasy, you have to check people's practice participation and see if they at least got in a limited practice and hope for a full practice by Friday before you can decide if you can start them in the lineup to see if they can play. It's not looking good, though, so doesn't really matter. DK Metcalf, Lockett, forget about it.
Going with the Seattle Seahawks. All right, Chicago, the Bears at the Titans. Bias Plus score 5.2 favors the Titans, who just lost to the Bengals.
You're going to hold that against them, aren't you?
Well, I mean, the only thing you can't hold is the fact that the Bengals, Joe Burrow is real. He's quarterback. He's a serious, real quarterback, though.
That is correct. And that's why I'm taking the Tennessee Titans, because although you could look at it one way and say, wow, the Bengals beat them and rookie quarterback went off on them. Excuse me, the kid is really good. Nick Foles is not. All right? Titans win this game. And Derrick Henry, he's going to get his yards. Even though the Bears defense is tough, he's going to get his yards.
We said last week that we question whether Nick Foles can take a team through the meat of the season. So they're in the meat of the season now, buddy, and we shall see if Nick Foles has what it takes to be able to do that. And you and I both, I believe, have questions as far as that's concerned. Okay. You ready for this? Baltimore at Indianapolis. 0.9 favors Baltimore. Now, the weird part about this, all right, Baltimore is ranked number 3 in net points. Indianapolis is 5. Baltimore has the 8th ranked offense. Indianapolis has the 5th ranked defense. Baltimore has Indianapolis has the 10th ranked offense. Baltimore has the 2nd ranked defense. So you got some good competition on both sides of the ball going up against each other. 0.9 is, man, that's close, man. This should be, a really good game.
I'm telling you, we've got nothing but good games on the slate so far. This is going to be another really good one. I almost put this up there with the Ravens Steelers game as far as impact and strength of the teams. I'm going to go with the Colts, and the reason I'm going to go with the Colts is for the same downfall that the Ravens had against the Steelers. I don't think that they're going to be able to just run through the Colts and win this game. I think that the Colts will be able to manufacture points somehow, some way. Phillip Rivers, your other whipping boy, has been throwing the ball pretty well lately. I don't know who the heck he's throwing it to, because T.Y. Hilton ain't doing nothing, but I know he's throwing it to. He's throwing it to Zach Pascal, and he's got like 3 decent tight ends. None of them great, but all of them decent. And they've been running the ball well. And at least two of the back, actually all three of their running backs. I'm sorry, let me put it this way. Of the three running backs that they have, one I would probably consider like a third down type back, pass catching back, but the other two are both three down backs. So they got a nice little variety there. And they can all catch. I think they're going to be enough to give the Baltimore defense a little bit of trouble. I think they'll put up some points, and their defense is a very active, fly around, hard hitting type of defense. And if they can just keep Lamar from breaking off any long runs, I think they can grind them down to a slow roll to the point where they can get ahead of them and force Lamar to have to throw the ball and then just send the troops at him and pick off the interceptions.
All right. This was one of those splits where the Baltimore had the net point advantage, but Indianapolis had the turnover differential advantage. So this will be an interesting situation. Okay, ready?
Turnovers in this one. I'm looking for the Colts to pick this guy.
Looking for the Colts to pick them.
Yep.
Teddy B, sacrificial lamb going into Kansas City with the Chiefs, favored with a bias plus score of 15.3. I do believe, no, it's not the biggest bias. It's the second biggest bias of the weekend. What do you got for the Kansas City hosting Carolina Panthers? And I do believe C-Mac back this week?
C-Mac.
Panthers.
Oh, Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
They haven't officially announced it yet. He's been cited at practice. He's not put in a full practice. I didn't see what exactly he did today, but I expect to see him have at least a limited practice tomorrow, and I think they'll probably hold out till Friday before they'll announce if he's actually going to play. But I'm expecting him to play. All things have pointed to this week. So I hope he's back. But to tell you the truth, I hope he's back because I need him in fantasy. And I think he'll probably do something in this game. But other than that, this is a blowout. This is another blowout. This is another Patrick Mahomes 350-yard, 3 or 4 touchdown day.
Okay, I can't argue with you. One iota on that. We won't spend a whole bunch of time. We'll wait and see how that turns out. Okay. Detroit Lions at Minnesota Vikings. This is a division game with the bias plus score of 1.3 favoring the Lions.
The Lions got a bias? Oh my goodness.
Yes, they did. Because, well, to be quite honest, the Lions came in net points ranked 23rd. Minnesota came in net points ranked 25th. So they're really, really close. And they're both in the negative. Minnesota's minus 4.4. Baltimore's minus 4.1. But the Lions also won out on the turnover differential. Minnesota's in the negative and Detroit is in the positive. So it's very close. It's a division game. We like division games because they're always weird. And this would actually kind of intrigue me a little bit, in terms of these two teams.
Yeah, I can see.
It's not one of my favorite intriguing games, but it kind of intrigues me a little bit.
Right. So now just tell me this real quick. Where's Detroit at points against?
Points against Detroit is 26. They're giving up 29.4.
And the Vikings are?
The Vikings are 29th. They're giving up 30.6 points.
Holy smokes. So we got two real lackluster defenses here. But it's going to be the Dalvin Cook show again. Okay? Pat Shurmur's no fool. All right? Rather than go with erratic behind Kirk Cousins and depend on him to win the game, why would you do that when you have a running back and an offensive line that can open holes for him? And once he gets through the hole, you got a whole bunch of business decisions to make to try to tackle this dude. He is size-wise, he's Derrick Henry light. Derrick Henry light. That was hard to say. Okay. This guy's grinding out yardage like groin injury. What groin injury? He picked up right where he left off. Detroit doesn't have a chance of stopping him. If they keep feeding him, he's going to have hella yardage, couple of nice breakaway runs, build up a lead. Kirk toss a couple in, and the game is over. Detroit doesn't have a chance in this one. Now, fantasy-wise, you can't use Galladay because he's hurt. So look for Marvin Jones Jr. He should have a good day because the Vikings secondary stinks. Okay. But Stafford's not going to be able to throw. He's going to have to throw 50 passes just to keep up with Dalvin Cook. So I'm taking the Vikings.
Sticking with the Vikings. Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right. We have another division matchup coming up in that super hot NFC least. New York Giants at Washington football team. Bias plus score 2.7 favors Washington. You guys going to get it done, man? Because you only have to win a half a game to make moves in the NFC East.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants in this one. Any game that looks remotely close for my Giants, I'm picking them. And I'm telling you, I feel good about my team. I know we're losing. I know we're not really good. I know we have challenges on the offensive line, but I like the way our defense looks. What really, really worries me, besides the lack of a running game, is Daniel Jones hasn't looked good. And I think he's suffering from some of the same things that's bothering Wentz. And I hate to put them two together because – if you talk to an Eagles fan, Wentz is good. He's just having problems. And Daniel Jones stinks. But if you look at their stats, they're the same guy, okay, except for Wentz throwing more interceptions. So how can Daniel Jones stink? But that's a story for another day. If he can get himself together, which I believe he will, they're going to win at least 2 more games, maybe 3. Maybe. They obviously like their head coach. I didn't know how they were going to do with this guy. He's never had head coaching experience, but they seem to like him. He has the team playing hard. If you watch any of his post-game interviews, he loves up on his guys. He talks really tough, and he defends them at every turn. So I like the direction that my team is going in, and I believe that they will beat the Washington team this week.
You like your coach?
Yes, I do.
That's important. That they seem to like him. They seem to play hard for him. And we've already noted, that the Giants defense is not bad. They're 15th, so they're in the top half of the league, in terms of their ranking, giving up 24.9 points a game. So, that's going to always help them when they have a spirited defense, which they have. So, that's really good. Did Golden Tate do anything for you guys this past weekend? I think he did, didn't he?
Scored a touchdown. He had a big first down catch. He scored a touchdown. I only think he had just a couple of catches though.
Okay, I remember them calling his name a couple times. So
the dude is Slayton, and that's what's killing me with Daniel Jones. When you got a player like Slayton on your team, he's sneaky fast. He's hard to jam at the line. He's real shaky and shifty, okay? And he somehow he gets deep and he gets by DBs. You got to connect on those long passes. He keeps overthrowing him. Dude, you don't overthrow this guy. You got to lay that in there. They got to work on that because Slayton is a serious, serious deep threat. And he runs the whole route tree too. He'll come across the middle. He'll do all that. But he can keep you in games and he can blow open a game. He's that kind of player, but they got to get it to him.
All right. The challenge is there. And who's playing quarterback for Washington?
Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen. Okay. So you guys, your defense needs to be able to take advantage of this Kyle Allen quarterback and really get something done.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran guy. It's not going to be easy. Washington runs the ball fairly well. Antonio Gibson's having a decent season. This is going to be a tough game. Every one of these games is a challenging game. This is crazy. It's that kind of week, huh?
Good week every week. How about this one? Houston at Jacksonville.
Okay, we had to have one stinker,
However,
but it's a good stinker.
it's a good stinker. When you're looking at in terms of net point rankings, Houston is 29th, Jacksonville is 30th. So yeah, you got two teams both in the negative net points. And they're down there in terms of defense. They're down there in terms of offense. Both the offenses at least are in the 20s. Houston is 22nd. Jacksonville's 26th. Gardner Minshew is starting to get some negative comments coming off of the media here. I'm beginning to hear some grumblings about him, being all personality and not getting the job done. So we have to keep an eye out on that. And okay, the Texans, we got a new coach, right? So,
well, yeah, I guess you could say he's a new coach. He's an old coach.
an old coach, but he's the new guy in charge.
Around, so he's the interim coach. But yeah, they'll never give him the job. I don't expect that to happen. But the team seems to be okay. I mean, they're playing hard. The problem is they're losing playmakers. Like there's a rumor now that Will Fuller might get traded to the Packers. Of course, it didn't happen. Okay, trade deadline came and passed. It didn't happen. But, things happen after the trade deadline sometimes too. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So that didn't happen. So I'm sure Deshaun is happy about that. But other than that, the run game's lackluster. They just And
what you going with?
I'm thinking I heard something about Minshew not starting this week. Is
Oh, really?
He played poorly? I don't know if it's because he's played poorly or because he's got an injury, but I don't. They have some dude down there named Lufton or something like that. I don't know. Well, we'll have to check that. But either way, I'm going to take the Texans. I think Deshaun's going to grind this one out. I think he's going to throw a couple long balls to Fuller and move the sticks with Brandon Cooks. And maybe even David Johnson has a decent day against the Jaguar run defense. It might be a tough one. It may be a close score. It could even end up being high scoring. But I'm going to go.
Why is Houston's defense so poor? They're ranked 30th. They're giving up 31 points a game.
They're really bad. I haven't taken the time to actually study their personnel, but I got a funny feeling that they just got some low-grade players and they haven't put anything into the draft or looking for any free agents. They haven't tried to do anything to improve things. And the wheels are just falling off. It's kind of the same thing Dallas is going through. Like you got middling to poor players that individually could possibly play better on another team, but collectively they're just horrible. I don't know any other way to explain it.
All right, we'll let that mystery solved. We have the battle of the losses. Las Vegas at Los Angeles.
Did you say the battle of the losses?
The losses. The
But
losses.
a loss and a loss. A battle of the losses.
Do you know the difference between loss and loss?
Actually, I don't. Do you?
I didn't look it up. Loss, LOS is used with masculine plural words and LAS is used with feminine plural words.
Well, then in that case,
About that, when I look at the Chargers are 16th at 0.9, and the Raiders are still, where are the Raiders at? Las Vegas. So yeah, the Raiders are still below Las Vegas, so the Chargers still have the bias, and
Chargers do have the bias. Okay.
yeah, they actually do have the bias. So I forget, I'm thinking that now that the Raiders are out of there, that we're finished with Los Angeles, but we're not. You still got the Chargers. Forgot about that.
Right.
That kind of screwed me up. Okay, good enough. You're taking the Chargers.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So the Raiders can beat everybody, but the lower half of the net point team.
This is a big division game for them.
Another division. Yeah. Wow. All right.
This must be division week or something, is it? No, it's not everybody.
No, it's not these guys. Pittsburgh, Dallas. This is the largest bias plus of the weekend. 22.1 bias plus score favors Pittsburgh. Yeah, no. Let's see you go against this bias, buddy.
I can't go against this bias. Come on now. Now it should be a blowout. It will be, but it won't be, because sometimes when we use the word blowout, we're talking about 30, 40, hanging a big number on somebody. It might be like 28 to, maybe they'll kick 2 field goals, 28-6 or something like that. But I'm sure the Steelers will handle this one without much of an effort. I'd like to see James Conner get some good yards in this one. I don't think Roethlisberger is going to have to throw many passes in this one. I think the few passes that he throws, though, he will make them count. They will score. This will be basically a no-effort win for the Steelers. They can sleepwalk through this one. So, yeah, take the Steelers all day, every day, no problem. I have nothing good to say about the Dallas Cowboys right now, and I'm not a Dallas Cowboys hater, but they truly stink.
Yes, they are challenged. They are football challenged. That's a nice way to put it. All right. This, I do believe, is going to be my intriguing game of the day. The Miami Dolphins, with their #1 defense at Arizona, with a 0.7 bias plus score favoring Miami. Look, they're ranked net points. Miami 6, Arizona is 7. So they're right there with each other. Miami has that #1 defense. They're only giving up 18.6 points per game. Arizona has the 9th ranked offense. They're scoring 29. As a matter of fact, Arizona is also ranked 9th defensively, giving up 20 points. Miami is 11th offensively, scoring 26.9 points per game. So these two teams should have some fun. And let's face it, it's Tua, it's Kyler. You gotta love 2 young guys going at it, man. Come on.
That's true. I agree. You do have to love it. Here's the thing. Arizona defense is pretty good too.
Yes, they are.
And the way the Miami defense had Jared Goff's head spinning last week, I do believe is the way the Arizona defense will have Tua's head spinning this week. When I was doing the report from the games last week, I talked about Myles Gaskin. He made it through that game and had a pretty good game. Unfortunately, turns out after the game was over, he came up with a bad ankle and will probably miss the next 2 to 3 games if that report is true. Guess what? Your boy's up, Matt Breida.
Yes.
This is his chance. This is his chance. This is his chance to prove himself, because I think they got Jordan Howard buried under the bench somewhere. Mm-hmm. So Breida's going to get a lot of room to run, and they're going to need him to handle a good number of touches, because we're talking about a brand new rookie quarterback just coming off of his first start. As far as the Miami defense is concerned, I'm sure they're going to try to hold their own. But coming after Jared Goff and coming after Kyler Murray is two completely different things. We're talking about a good arm versus a cannon. And we're talking about a statue versus, what'd you call him? A cheetah?
Well, Breida is the cheetah.
Oh, Breed is the cheetah? Yeah, well, I'm taking that name. Kyler Murray is
Wait a minute, are you calling Tua a statue?
No. I'm comparing to Jared Goff. I'm comparing Miami versus Goff
Oh, I see what you're saying.
and Arizona versus Tua.
Yeah.
So all the great things we saw Miami do against the Rams, they may have that done to them by the Cardinals. Yeah.
So who are you going with?
I'm going with the Cardinals.
Going with the Cardinals, sticking with. Oh, wait a minute! You're going against.
That's against the bias. That is correct.
Bias. Going with the Cardinals.
Yes.
Man, we've been talking about the Cardinals all season, being a team that is more competitive than what we might know. They're in the toughest division in the league. The only division, as I saw it, where every team is in the positive in terms of net points.
Interesting.
The division has at least one or two that are negative net points. So strangely enough, as bad as we got beat, we're still when I say we, I'm talking about my beloved 49ers, still in the positive. But 4.4 net points per game on the plus side, and you're going to go with Arizona. Okay, fantastic. Well, next up, they're now calling it Tampa Bay. Am I correct?
Are they?
Tampa Bay.
They couldn't come up with nothing better than that.
Hey, it's catchy. It fits right in. Tom Brady is the man. And AB should be playing this weekend. So they're going to pull AB out of the hat. Bias Plus score 9.6 favors Tampa Bay.
Well, sir, this is a good one. If it was in New Orleans, I might think about it a little bit longer. But since it's not, I won't waste any more time thinking about it. I'm going with the Buccaneers. They're playing really, really well right now. Tom is hot. Got a good running game. Fournette finally found his legs. So now they can bring him in if Ronald Jones gets starts fumbling or whatever, but he's playing really well, breaking tackles, hitting the hole. Gronk coming around. Mike Evans is a little dinged up. I think they wish they had some time to really let him sit down and miss a game, but he's not injured so badly that he can't play. But you could tell he's not 100%. Godwin should be back this week, and they're bringing in AB. Supposedly, they've designed some packages for him, so we might look for him on some jet sweeps or something, as well as some certain pass routes that are designed to get him open. Tampa Bay is pretty much, to me, the most complete football team in the NFL right now, from top to bottom. Now, we'll say this. People have been talking really great things about their defense. And I remember I cut the game on, and somebody said all four of their DBs, both corners and both safeties, are all 6 feet tall plus. They all run 4.4s, and they're all young, like they're all under 24 years old. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I watched the Giants game, and I watched Sterling Shepard get open. I watched Ingram make a catch that if he had made the catch the week before, they would have beat the Eagles. And I watched Slayton blow by the guy that was covering him several times. In fact, one time he beat him completely, and Daniel Jones didn't even see him. He was looking at the other side of the field. And I say, yeah, okay, all that youth and all that speed and all that height is all great. It's wonderful. But experience plays a big part too. So if they got a weakness, It's the youth in the secondary. But overall, I think they're the most complete team, even more complete than Pittsburgh, and I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Going with Tampa Bay. That is your Sunday night game, so we'll be able to watch that as the only game on at that time. So it won't be competing with any other games. Our eyeballs will be fixed on that game. That's going to be fun. All right, that leaves Monday night. Are you ready for some football? Monday night? Well,
Well,
wah, wah, wah.
they can't swing this one to Sunday and put the Tampa Bay game on Monday night.
That would be preferable probably. But what's Cam going to do, man? I mean, they're favored. 13.6 favors New England. If Cam can't come out, this is a division game. This is one of those games that is going to potentially help Miami because, if New England takes an L, which they shouldn't, but if they take an L, then that's just going to, strengthen Miami's position, and it's basically them and the Bills in this division at this particular point. And everybody's waiting for Cam to kind of get out of this funk. He was doing okay till he fumbled at the end of the game. He was looking like he was about to lead a comeback, and the story was
people are really giving him the business about that fumble. I mean, they're nitpicking. They're like, well, why didn't you switch the ball to the other hand? Stop it. This dude is running hard, trying to break tackles, trying to get yardage, trying to win a game. The defender came in from the side. He never saw him. And the guy he had his fist balled up and punched the ball out. That can happen to anybody. That can happen to anybody. They're really riding him. And I understand there was a lot of fanfare when he went to New England and people were like, oh, they got Cam. And things aren't working out quite like they expected. But I think people are being a bit hard on him. Now, I'm not going to go all out to defend him because them hats he'd be wearing at his post-game press conferences are driving me bananas. But I do believe they will beat the Jets. If nothing else, their defense is still strong enough to stop that lousy Jets offense. If they have to win the game 6-0, they gonna win. So yeah, take the Patriots. Jeez.
Yeah, New England's defense is ranked 12th.
I hope I don't have any fantasy implications for this game, because if I don't, I probably won't watch it. I know I won't watch the whole game. The only way I watch this game is if I have fantasy implications. I know I have no Jets on any of my teams. I had Cam on a couple teams. I cut him. I don't think I have any Patriots. I probably won't even watch this game. As opposed to last Monday, when the Giants played Tampa Bay, I had a big lead, big fantasy lead, and I had one Buccaneer, and the guy I was playing had Brady, Gronk, Jones, and the Tampa Bay defense. Came back. I ended up winning the game by like 5 points. And here's the crazy thing. I'm a New York Giants fan. They get that 2-point conversion, they go to overtime and have a chance to win. But also if they get that 2-point conversion and they go to overtime, that gives Tampa Bay players more opportunities to get fantasy points, and I lose.
That's why I don't like fantasy.
Guess what I rooted for?
Loyalty. That's what I've always said.
Guess what I rooted for? For them not to get that 2 points.
Oh, no.
Dude, I can't lose my fantasy game. I'm sorry.
Just corrupts those loyalties.
They were going to lose anyway. Tampa Bay was going to win the toss, drive down the field, and score.
What can I tell you? Okay. Well, last week, we did all of our Bias Plus reports. And as usual, there has to be a bias plus buster of the week. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Congratulations, Joe Burrow, baby.
Joe Burrow busting the bias with a score of 23. They had an unfavorable bias of 12. They won by 11. That gives them a bias plus buster score of 23. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's a huge win for them. And although they only have 2 wins, when you have bad season after bad season after bad season and then turn in a real stinker and get the number 1 pick overall, and you pick a quarterback and he comes in and plays like this guy has come in and played, you have won. You might not win a lot of games.
Right.
You have won. You're on your way back
to be the first foundational piece to building a competitive squad.
Absolutely.
Quarterback.
Think about all the teams that had stinky seasons, got the number 1 pick overall, picked a quarterback, and the guy laid an egg. You know, this is they everything is working out for them. The only thing that they're missing is wins.
Other than what's his name in college now? The guy with the long
Trevor Lawrence.
Other than Trevor, who has COVID, right? I think he just came down.
He either that or he was close to somebody who did or something like that.
Something like that. But he's out, so they got somebody.
Right.
Who do you like in college ranks coming out at quarterback right now?
The guy Fields at Ohio State.
Ohio State. I've heard a number of things about him. Absolutely.
There's a couple more guys, but you know, college football is kind of hit and miss right now. Some of the conferences are just coming back, but they're televising a lot of games. So I'm going to start really watching and trying to catch up on what's going on now that the bigger conferences are beginning to play. But they have it's Lawrence, Fields, and there's maybe 2 or 3 other guys out there that they're touting as, you know, being probably top-notch first-round type dudes. So, you know, I'll get caught up on who they are, but Fields is pretty nice.
Such a crazy year, man. Such a crazy year. Okay. That wraps up the Bias Plus reports for this upcoming week 9. Let's move on. And we usually wrap up with commentary. We'll start when we'll just kind of open up the conversation with the fact that the trade deadline came and went. There was not a lot of horse trading, from what I understand. And for example, people thought that maybe the Bengals would be giving up, you know, their receiver, or, you know, there'd be a few different trades. People were looking for Green Bay to pick up a receiver, or actually, you know, they're looking for Green Bay to pick up a receiver. But we know Green Bay needs help on the defensive end, so we thought maybe they get a little more with that. My Niners did move, as we said, Quan Alexander. They picked up Kiko Alonso. There's a question.
Yeah, were you able to find out the story behind that? Was he unhappy?
No, but I know he just keeps putting out these tweets, and I read them, and I have no idea. I see him, and I have no idea what he's talking about. Right. So he might have got hit upside the head one time too. I'm just joking. But in any event, anything about the trade deadline that you want to mention?
No, I'm surprised. I thought I heard enough scuttlebutt about Will Fuller going to the Packers that I thought that might actually happen, but it didn't. So,
yeah, didn't happen.
I know people in Philadelphia are upset that the Eagles didn't do anything. They kind of stood pat. I don't know what they were expecting them to do, but they didn't do anything. So, you know, that's the way that goes.
Yeah, if Wentz is going to Wentz it up a lot, then, you know, it doesn't really make any difference what you do. You just need him to play a little bit better and make better decisions, and they can still win the division with just that. So
I think that's the only thing that's really keeping him afloat right now is the fact that somehow, some way, they've been winning these games. But I'm telling you, as bad as he's playing, I don't see that getting better. I don't really see that getting better. So as they start to play better teams, they're going to have some problems. But let's give them a chance. They're on the bye this week. Give them a chance to work things out and see how they do when they come off the bye, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, you must have knew what we were getting ready to talk about. Fantasy alert: teams on the bye for Week 9: Cincinnati, Cleveland, Los Angeles. That would be
the Rams.
The Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. So, you know something? It's really funny. When I'm doing this stuff, sometimes I'm using the city names, sometimes I'm using the nicknames. The nicknames really, I think, elicit more emotionally. Like, it's one thing to say Philadelphia, it's another thing to say the Eagles. It kind of,
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It really does. So I think I'm going to start sticking, utilizing the nicknames a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, the Browns.
When you're talking about sports, it's just not quite the same. Like if you're talking about football and you say Philadelphia, it's like, okay. You say the Eagles, you know what I mean? People feel it more. Now, when you say Pittsburgh, people know. You know what I mean? To certain ones, yeah, when you say Pittsburgh, people just know. And it used to be when you said Oakland, people would know.
Yeah.
Oakland. Oakland and Raiders, you feel it. Pittsburgh and Steelers, you feel it. New England's kind of like that. I don't know about many other teams though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about San Fran, and do you need to say the Niners?
Nah.
Yeah, when you say San Fran, you kind of know what's going on.
You do, but it's not the same as the Niners.
That's what I'm saying. It does carry some emotional weight, and that's probably why the Washington team is going to have to really get a better.
They got to get in
Washington football team. So that's not really helping in terms of really establishing themselves, but that's okay. I think as a temporary situation, they're doing okay. And also, from what I understand, 9 different franchises opened up their stadiums for voting this year.
Yes.
And they were one of them. And I heard a number of people say that they did an excellent job in serving the voters down in DC. So kudos to those guys. Kudos to the rest of the NFL for what they did. Again, I'm a Dallas. There's a positive and a negative to just about everything. And, we talk enough negative things about the NFL, whatever, but there's a lot of positives going on. Patrick Mahomes literally split the cost for voting machines in Kansas City with the Chiefs.
What?
He's got that much money.
Well, yeah, but it's not really that he's got that much money. It's that he actually did it. Like he
did it. Yes.
Cool.
The way they signed him reminded me of the way the Lakers signed Magic.
Back in the day, yeah.
We know this guy is great. He's going to be great. He's going to be a legend. Let's lock him down to our franchise and know that he's with us for the long term. Right. It was what I was hoping the Sixers would have done with Dr. J.
Right.
And they didn't, which is how I was able to skate off and become a Bulls fan. But that's a whole nother story. But long story short, he is a class act. He's a very smart young man. He's picking up investments left and right. So he might be making a lot of money on the football side, but that young man is going to be making a lot of money outside of football also. So keep your eye on him. He's no joke. And again, he comes from a professional sports family. So all the assets, all the connections, all of that was in place for him. But he could have been a knucklehead. You know what I mean? You could have that situation, and you could have a kid that's a knucklehead and doesn't take full advantage of it.
Absolutely. It happens.
Yeah, he's not that guy. All right, I said my part. Anything else that you want to add in terms of comments?
I don't need to add anything in terms of comments, but I will say my part. My part would be go Noles.
Peace.